What's up, Noob University? Are you a gamer? Well, stay tuned. We got some tips and some insight that might help you get along the way. All right, thank you everybody else for joining us, and we're going to bring on our first guest today. Let's bring him out in. Sophos-Sama, welcome to the show. Come on in.
It all up for the camera.
You got to do your shimmy, yes. You got to. This is what's going to get viewers, ladies and gentlemen. A little shimmy from Sophos-Sama.
We're here. We're doing it. This is cool.
Oh, yes. Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up? How's it going?
Pretty good.
Hey.
All right. Thank you for coming on to the show. Once again, let's give you a quick intro. So this is Sophos-Sama, really good friend of mine. I've known him for years, and he's a very talented video gamer. He plays lots of fighting games. So let's go ahead and welcome you to the show. Let's get started with our interview. All right. So first off, when do you think you started playing video games? At what age?
Now, I started playing video games at 5 or maybe even younger. But I remember I was 5 years old, got my first Nintendo for Christmas. I was like, oh my God, what do I do with this? I already know. And I played Mario. But quick surprising fact, my dad was the manager of the Tilt in the Galleria.
Really?
Yeah, you like that?
So did you go play there a lot?
I don't know. I was like 3 or 4 or something.
Oh, so maybe that was ingrained in you from an early age and you just didn't know it.
Yeah,
like,
really. You will play games and you will be the best.
Subconsciously
Yeah,
baptized in the arcade. Great. So do you remember what video games really got you going? And just to let our viewers know, you specialize in a particular set of video games. You don't play overall. Can you tell our viewers what you really focus on?
Okay, so I play fighting games for the most part, right? I love fighting games. That's basically what was in arcades when I began playing games a lot as a younger youth. You know, everything was fighting games basically, where people could come together, play with and against each other, and kind of just socialize, fighting games.
And do you remember what game really got you going? What one that stands out for you as you say, wow, that's the one that really got me in the path towards being, Sophos-Sama.
Of course. Street Fighter 2.
Ooh, Street Fighter 2.
Yeah.
Now, what was your favorite character in that game?
Can we curse?
I'll bleep it out.
Oh, okay. It was Ryu and Ken.
Ryu and Ken.
Yeah.
I think that was everybody's. Yeah, those are the tough ones to play because you couldn't really spam anything. I guess with fireballs and things like that. But what do you think you really liked about those characters? What was like some of their traits that you liked?
So here's the weird part, okay? At a certain point, Ryu and Ken were basically the same character. One was just a blonde dude, and the other one was just like a Japanese brown-headed dude. There wasn't a difference, but people came up in their head like, man, Ken's a hothead, But and it was funny because if you lose with one, you pick the other, but you're like playing with the same character technically. But no, those are the characters everybody else picked. And when it came to putting money into a machine to play, you kind of want to go with somebody that feels safe because you're kind of gambling your money away.
Right.
But also that, and then my brother played those characters too.
Well, seeing you guys probably hung out at the arcade a lot, seeing as your dad ran Tilt. Do you think that kind of drove you to enjoy video games, or more specifically fighting games?
Yeah, definitely, because it was if my mom couldn't take me, it'll be me and my brother, and I would actually watch him playing and play against them, and I look at I remember the first time I learned special moves. He kept doing them, and I was like, oh, this guy, okay, let me pay attention to what he's doing. So I looked down at his joystick, and I was like, circle, all right, really fast like this, and then press this button, and you get stuff. Okay, so I tried it out, and the more I tried it out, I tried to simplify the movements less and less, or more and more, I would try to simplify the movements to something easier, and I found out I don't have to do a whole circle. And then I was doing half circles for everything. And then I found out I don't have to even do a half circle. I can do a quarter circle. But I never figured out how to do an uppercut completely until like later years.
Nice. Yeah. So would you say you guys were very competitive at a young age, and then who? At what point did you notice that? Hey, wait a minute, maybe I'm going to go a little bit deeper? Because I'm assuming your brother still plays, but not at the level you do.
Man, so definitely, yes to the first part you asked because I already forgot it, but I remember I was going to say yes. But I remember there was a bunch of Street Fighters that came out. Different versions of Street Fighter 2. And that was my stomach. And I remember when Mortal Kombat 2 came out, late nights, Memorial City Mall had something called the Extravaganza. And it was a giant arcade. Everything was kind of cheap, and they stayed up pretty late, past the mall's closing time. So my brother brought me there. It was one of those nights. He brought me there. He actually had a nice amount of money, so he can play. And I was just knocking people off left and right. I literally had like a 5-game win streak, which is pretty long, but I'm a kid. I'm like 3rd grade. I don't know how old you are in that grade, but I'm in 3rd or 4th grade, just destroying people. And I remember some dude was like, dang, and he was talking all types of trash, and he was saying all types of stuff about me, how good I was. And I thought right then and there, hey, maybe I am good. Maybe, but I'm still a kid. And I eventually lost because I picked jacks, and I really didn't know how to use jacks, but I wanted to use them.
Oh man, for me, it was Johnny Cage. That was the guy. I mean, he was easy to play with, but split kick punch. That was it's my favorite.
Misfire.
Exactly.
Shooting boogers.
Boogers at you, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about early life. You got your start with the fighting games. Now, how have you noticed the transition between when you started playing video games? Let's fast forward to when everybody had the Super Nintendos and things like that. Did you notice a drastic change in like the fighting game genre, or do you think it was pretty much about the same?
I noticed a little change. I started fighting more people that knew what they were doing. Competition was getting way better. It wasn't to the point where I lose a lot, but it was really weird. I was young, but I played against a lot of people that were older than me all the time. And it was like a 50-50. Like I'd either lose or I'd either win most of it. So it was balanced. It wasn't like a majority of wins. But I would always fight against people that were older. And it'd always be that moment where you got to fight the random kid who looks like he's like 15 wearing glasses, or like he's a stoic Asian dude that doesn't talk to anybody, but he's whooping everybody's butt. And you're like, wow, I need to know what he knows. But I was a kid. I wouldn't go up to him and ask him. He'd probably abduct me or something.
So at that point, were you competing? Were you going to like local tournaments, or would you say it was more of a leisurely, hey, let's go to the mall and just play video games because we like it?
It was more of a Friday night, Saturday night type thing. My brother would have money, or I would have a little bit of money, or maybe my mom would go around the mall. I'm like, hey, Mom, I'm not going with you inside the Victoria's Secret or whatever they had back then. I'm going to the arcade. But I didn't start getting into tournaments until I was 13 or 14, probably 14. Yeah.
And what game of choice were you playing at that point when you decided to make the switch to like, hey, let's compete? So
specifically at that point, it was Tekken Tag Tournament 1 on PlayStation 2. Was that right? Yeah, on PlayStation 2.
There you go. And what character did you choose then?
Oh my gosh. I played Paul Phoenix and Bruce, but I had a whole bunch of different teams. So it was Paul Phoenix, Bruce. I think I used Devil, Ogres, Law, and I think really Paul Phoenix and Bruce are Law and Paul Phoenix.
Okay, so do you feel like you go, whenever you pick your character or your group of characters that you play with, do you feel like you're more comfortable in the mid range, long range, or what do you feel like what's a good character for you? Like, let's say you're picking brand new game, no one's ever played it. How do you decide, hey, I'm going to pick this character?
Man, so I've changed a lot since back then. A lot, because I have really good fundamentals. Well, I have decent fundamentals now. So when it comes to picking a character now, I just look at the character And if I like how he looks,
So his looks.
or if he sounds cool, I'm like, man, this guy's a badass. No matter if he's good or bad, I'm going to play with him. I'm going to learn him. And usually when the game first comes out for the first couple of months, when people are still learning, I do super well. But eventually, as time rolls by, and I want to be more competitive and actually win a lot more, I may gravitate more towards a top tier character if the game is top tier dominant, if it's not well balanced. So, for instance, let's say when King of Fighters 14 came out, right? King of Fighters 14, brand new King of Fighters. Before in King of Fighters, you could probably pick anybody you wanted to and do well. King of Fighters 14 came out. I didn't play with who I play with now, who are characters that are pretty much mid-tier. I played with top-tier characters, but I liked them. At the same time, I liked them, except for one of the characters on my team, because it's a game where you can pick a team of 3. So I picked 2 top-tier characters. One of them I really loved already, Geese Howard.
What?
Yeah. Predictable. All that. And this guy named K with the flames on his hand, and some other person. I can't even remember. But when it comes to games first coming out, I just pick people, and then I do well if I like them. But then if they completely suck and I still like them, I'll just practice with them on my own sometimes and forget about them, not use them in front of people.
Great. So how much would you say, you get a brand new game, how much of your time do you feel like you dedicate towards learning that character or that game? How much time and effort do you put into that?
I've never really measured it. Normally what I'll do is I'll play against a bunch of people that are learning the game too. And when it gets to a point where people are like, man, you're known for this character, or man, you're with this character, right? Like when Zeku came out in Street Fighter V, I just played with him because I was tired of the game. I just played with him until I got decent. And people were like, oh no, here comes Sofo. Now we're going to hear the Zeku theme for like 5 hours straight. So if I could measure it though, I'd say 80 to 90% of the time that I'm playing the game, I would dedicate to learning that character, right? And sometimes that's like an hour of practice, and then I try 30 minutes of fighting because I get fatigued really easy.
Great. So if we think about back then, right? So now with the internet and you're able to play online and great things, you get competition from around the world, which is really great. But take us back to, let's say back in the 90s where you didn't have the ability to get online and play with others. How did you develop your skill set and get really good to the point where you're doing tournaments, because you didn't have the ability to train with other people all the time. How did you really focus on training back then?
So you would hope and pray that you'd be able to have time to yourself to the arcade. And I would just, instead of trying to win, I would just practice certain scenarios, certain setups, and certain moves and just get used to it. But if somebody did play against me, I would hope and pray that they weren't as good as me, or a little bit to my level, but under me a little bit, so I can keep my money and keep playing.
Yeah, that's the key right there, is that people need to understand. Back then, you lost money if you lost. It was a quarter, or it got to 50 cents at one point, or whatever it was. Yeah, so back then, if you lost, it was monetary loss as well, not just to your ego. I
promise to you, going to the arcade with $5, I only expected to use $3 of that or less. $3 was too much. $5 was like, oh my God, that was a lot of money to spend in the arcade, which is weird now.
Yeah, back then it was weird. Now you got a nice little card. Now, one of the memories I have, and this is where you and I go way back. One of the memories I really have of your gaming was Galleria. We go over there and you whisper, "Oh my God, Sophos AMA." He's coming in, and then people would kind of like look at you in a certain way because they knew your gameplay, which was kind of impressive. How do you feel like that do you feel like that fueled you to kind of continue gaming, or do you feel like that was a little bit of a crutch because now you got a lot of expectation?
Man, I didn't even know. Like I knew I was decent, but I didn't even pay attention to that. I always thought that I could be way better because I know I could be way better because I know who the top person, or I interacted with the top person in Houston, or the top people in Houston at that time, and I was like, gosh, I am light years behind them. Like there are so many people that are way better than me that I know of. And that's the thing about playing against good people. There's always somebody better than them. But I knew that. So that gave me the impression of I need to work.
So do you remember, what was your first tournament like? Kind of take us through that moment when they called your name and here you are about to put your quarter in the machine. Like take us back to kind of, what were you feeling at the moment whenever you picked your character and press B.
So the first ever tournament, I think the first major, I'd say, because I think I kind of played tournaments before that. I just don't remember them. The first major one was at a video game store for Tekken Tag, and it just felt really good to see a whole bunch of different people. Well, honestly, I walked in there thinking I was going to win it, like, oh, this is going to be easy money. But then I saw a whole bunch of different people, and I was like, oh, this is a lot of people. And then I saw some of the people that I've seen in the arcade before that beat me, and I was like, oh, this won't be as easy as I thought it would be. And it was a really good feeling, though, to see all the people come together and see a whole bunch of different characters that I didn't even think were viable. And it was awesome because, I was around people that I could actually talk to about stuff I cared about, as opposed to just sitting there like, yeah, what? Yeah. So came in. I didn't really talk to anybody, but I knew some of the people kind of sort of from being at the mall. I stood next to them, and they realized who I was because they was like, oh. And I just sat and waited and watched. And actually, I got a chance to warm up a little bit and kind of test the waters. And I didn't use my hardcore stuff, but I tested the waters, and I was like, this guy's not too good. He's beatable. So my first match, when they called my name, of course I had jitters, but I ended up winning. It wasn't anything that I was it wasn't anything that I was really worried about. Like, because after the first full match, I can kind of tell, oh, this isn't going to be too bad. I can pretty much get a good read on this guy and see where his faults are. So it wasn't until I was up in there, because I think I went like 2-2. Like I got 2 wins, and then I lost, and then went to losers and lost. But when I lost to one of the really good people in Houston. I'd say at the time, if he wasn't the top person, he was the second top person.
Wow. Yeah, so I remember back then, it seemed like we did have a lot of top players around this area, like, Houston, Austin, San Antonio. I mean, I think that was a hub for these amazing players. And, they might have not, people might not know their names now, because when we came up, it wasn't this huge, mega events like, these VidCons and things like that where they play at E3 or whatever. Mm-hmm. But, I feel like we had a lot of well-known players here in Houston. Do we still have that same presence now?
Oh, hell yeah. The OGs are still here. Like people like, man, I'm going to be name dropping. People like Crow.
Crow's still around? Wow.
Man, he still plays too.
Wow.
He's like, I haven't seen him, mm-hmm. but I know he still plays. I've seen in Facebook groups where it's like, oh, look, there's a room full of Evo champions. And he actually won Evo I know for a fact once.
Wow.
But they still play. They're still around. I'm still in Facebook groups where they're in them, or people that know them are in them. And then the Houston scene is still pretty strong because we play stuff like Mortal Kombat. Mm-hmm. And actually one of the top guys, he won 1 or 2 major tournaments for the most recent Mortal Kombat. I'm talking about like major, meaning U.S., probably worldwide. Mm-hmm. He's from Houston, and the Houston scene is nice. Wow. They're good.
So let's transition a little bit into talking about, what you're up to now. Because, it seems like I saw a transition between you wanting to be competitive to now you're playing on YouTube and you're doing some instructional videos and some live streaming. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah. So I never wanted to really be a big tournament person. It was just that my competition level was tournament level. And, I just want to play a game to its fullest potential. So that means I end up being kind of like a low-tier tournament player. And I just want to create content that reflects on, stuff that I like. When it comes to like memes and analogies, stuff like that that I make towards video games in real life. I just want to put content out like that so I can look back and enjoy it and be like, man, this is awesome. And then it just so happens there are people similar to me that like the same stuff that I might like. So now, I got my YouTube channel, Sophos AMA, at Sophos AMA.
Oh yes, we gotta get that plug in there. It's necessary.
And
all the cameras.
So, what I like doing, and it's kind of like a whole creative work of art. The gameplay, as well as the content that I create. The whole video, the finished video, because everybody has their own style in playing the game, and I don't necessarily try to win all the time. Sometimes I'm just trying to do something really swaggy and create a situation where it just looks awesome, right? And then I roll that up into, some type of presentation involving music, funny points, things like that, and throw it out there as my content. So yeah. I really like doing that. But then, of course, people want to learn, and sometimes people don't understand what I'm doing. So they'll ask, hey, what's going on? How do I do this?
So that brings up an interesting point about learning, and really, that's really what I want to focus my channel on. Whenever you say people ask questions, what is one of the most common questions that you get from people? What is something that they want to learn about, specifically fighting games?
Normally I'll get a question that starts off, I'm losing to this character. How do I beat them? Or what do I do in this situation? Just kind of like problem solving,
Right. So, when you do that and I feel like, this is a really good avenue for your live streaming, because, I've been in a couple of your live streams, and I do see that the people ask you questions, and you kind of give them, this is how I would do it, that type of approach. Do you feel like you grow a little bit better being able to help people because that forces you a little to look differently? Do you feel like that's the key to improving your craft?
Yeah, a little bit, because I know what the people want. And then for one, and then two, I'm practicing different situations that I may not have problems with, but I'll be able to explore a solution for that situation, and come up with a whole bunch of different types of answers, that I can use in the future for my benefit as well as theirs.
All right. So how do you structure that? Like, say, for example, let's not talk about live stream just yet, but let's talk about your videos. How do you choose what content you're going to put out and at what time? And, do you have a overall theme, or what are the types of criteria you have for putting out videos?
So at first, particularly the Zeku videos, I wanted traditionally Japanese, 70s to 80s funky, or ninja, or all of that wrapped into each other like a weird strong hand. So at first, that's what I wanted. Then I got over that because I couldn't really find much more that I wanted to use to express that. So I started using different memes and different songs to somewhat express that, and kind of like I hear a really cool song, I'm like, wow, this is awesome. Let's see if I can put this together. Or sometimes even I just be messing around. I'll use some clips that I have with some music, and it'll end up being a video. Like I was bored and I ended up making a video. But it's been structured to a point to where my videos talk about a specific move or some specific tech, like a situation you can put somebody in that will lead you advantageous, or like, some type of trickery mix up. And I'll have a video for that. And I'm like, wow, okay, this worked out good. And then it ended up continuing, the next video is about this, next video is about that,
So how much of that do you think it's user-based, requests versus you saying, okay, this is what I want to show everybody? Or do you get like a lot of questions and then decide on your videos that way?
Man, I think 70% is just me making some stuff. 30% is user-based request. But when people ask for stuff, it was because I was the go-to person from creating those videos that I wanted to create. And honestly, one thing that helped me out a lot is I'd find the matchup, I'd win the matchup, from what I've learned from the matchup, and I'd kind of go into describing the matchup. And I did that for every character I fought against. So people would see Zeku, Sophos-Sama, in the whatever character. And eventually, people came to those videos saying, hey, could you go more into depth? Could you kind of talk about this situation? Could you kind of explain what happens when I'm put in this situation and how should I get out of it?
Right. That's good information. Yeah, because I do notice, you do have a good following, and when I'm in the live streams, you get to all types of stuff. So I'm like, man, how does he keep up? Because that thread kind of moves a little fast. So that's good to hear that you do take that into account. Now, when we're talking about let's talk about live streaming now, because that's a little bit different than you pushing out the content that you want. How much control do you have over that? Because you're really putting yourself kind of vulnerable at that point because you don't know where it's going to go. But do you have like an overall theme that you want to push out during that live stream?
Man, when I live stream, it's just have fun. Because really, when I live stream, it's just a situation where I happen to be online, and I'm like, hey, how about I stream? Let's see what the people are doing. Or I kind of want to heighten up. I kind of want motivation to continue playing, and I might open up a stream and then see who comes in and see if they want to see something or see if something fun can happen. And it's kind of like sharing my experience of playing with the people who watch, with the audience.
That's good. Now, you said, that kind of drives you to keep going with the video game. So with your video games, I notice, you don't stick to a particular video game a lot. You kind of juggle in between them. I see you, a lot of times you're a Street Fighter, you'll switch over to Mortal Kombat. How do you determine, is it more based on feeling, or do you kind of want to go, are you more balanced in the terms of, hey, I'm going to listen to certain things?
Woo. Man, when it comes to feeling, I feel strong about this, and everybody that plays Street Fighter feels strong about this too. Capcom, make some content. Supposedly next week we might get something, but I stopped playing Street Fighter because, I'm going to hurt some people's feelings. Street Fighter 5 is not a 100% awesome game. They have difficulty with lag, big time difficulty with lag. Some characters are OP in the situations for the meta of the game, and you can just get really frustrated really easy with the game compared to other games. So the reason I came back, I actually stopped playing Street Fighter. I came back when Zeku came out, and I wanted to learn him, and that's just been fun. And now it's come to a point where it's kind of getting redundant, and because I'm playing the same people over and over again. And then a lot of times they play the same type of meta, and it's like, hey, I'm going to stay away and not try to attack you at all. And then the game lags right when you get some type of momentum. So I'd say it's based off of feeling, because if I don't feel like playing Street Fighter, or if I'm not in a good mood to play Street Fighter, I'm not going to play Street Fighter.
And see, I think this is where it's good that you're not super competitive, because that, if you were competitive, then you'd be forced to, hey, I gotta be the very best, as no one ever was.
Man, exactly. And that's a big time waster, right? I mean, it's a big time waster right there, because if you're trying to play to become the best and it's not fun, you're wasting your time.
That's right. So let's say hypothetically that, Capcom came to you and said, Sofo, we want you to fix Street Fighter. What are some of the key points that you would fix right away?
Man, well, first of all, I'd have to be God. I'm just a human. But a major key point, network activity, a.k.a. lag, a.k.a. CFN ghost frames issues.
Can you explain what ghost frames are? Because we have a lot of viewers that don't understand that concept.
Woo. Okay, so when the game lags due to how it's set up, the two parties are trying to sync to each other, right? but there's information that's skipping along. So what you'll normally see is this. That's the game running normal. When it lags and you get ghost frames, they start here, end up here. Just bam, bam. You don't see it. So the game is based highly on frames. You have a move that's 9 frames, right? If you get ghost frames, if you get lagged, the move that's 9 frames, and it's usually a really strong move, it's going to be 3 frames. You can't react to that. There goes half your life. And it's just frustrating because a lot of the times it activates. It's weird. Like the more information you give the game, the more likely it has the lag. If you press more buttons, chance of lagging is going up. And if you activate something called V-trigger, which is basically a comeback mechanic, it gets all flashy looking, and then the game probably lags. So it's fucked up. Beep. Because you'll have an overpowered character, and they're super overpowered, and it's lagging on top of that. So it's like you lost. Put down your controller. Watch the mayhem.
Yeah, it is one of the things that's very frustrating about any video game, right? That you can play online.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that I thought would alleviate this process, was, internet speeds. But that's not the case. I mean, nowadays we have stuff that you're downloading 100 megabits per second, crazy connections, and is there still lag? How do you is there a way to overcome that, or do you practice in a manner? Can you practice in a manner to kind of, work around that?
I'd say no. You just have to hold. But honestly, if Capcom could possibly lock regions, because we can fight somebody in Japan right now, and then really just everything in between kind of messes with the connection too. Because in Japan, they have great connection to each other. That is a perfect game to play, even though it lags a little bit still. But if there was a way to lock regions to where we won't have to fight Brazil, because, man, I have never fought somebody with good connection from Brazil. I'm not knocking the Brazilian players. The Brazilian players are awesome. They are good. But then there's a whole bunch of situations where they start lagging like crazy. Crazy.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, I understand the frustration at that point. It's one of those things where it's hard to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
And does that discourage you from playing online a lot and just kind of focusing more on playing the computer and then trying to find people, to play with? Or do you just kind of say, hey, I'm going to deal with it and just it is what it is?
A little bit of both, because I don't like playing the computer. I only play fighting games so I can play against people.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes me stay away from ranked match, because then I have points and stuff on the line. And once I get tired of losing the lag, I just stop playing, maybe for a couple of days. And I'll go back to casual, get introduced to another laggy match, and I'm like, okay. But if a newer character comes out or I learn something new, I do spend a lot of time in practice mode.
That's good.
Yeah.
Now, we're talking about ranking. One interesting aspect was, I remember when we started playing, I think it was Tekken 5. Was that when the cards came out?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you progressed fairly quickly. I remember you were first in within like the first day of it launching or something crazy, and I'm over here like a lower tier level. So how much of that do you think motivates you, when you say, hey, whether it's, XP points and then being able to buy items, or, whether it's ranking, how much does that motivate you to kind of, and I know you want to be the best, but does that kind of give you like a little extra push to keep going?
Not really. Now that rank is a big thing, let's start with before. Before, games where they didn't focus too much on rank, and you just play and you won't know your points or anything like that unless you checked. I used to do great because I would just keep playing and I would be having fun. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't like Mortal Kombat X. I would never check my rankings. And then when I actually did check them, I'm like, oh, I don't even know what this means, but it looks like I'm doing good. But now it's more so like, I kind of want to, like, I'll stop playing ranked for a little bit. Mm-hmm. I'll go on a long streak until a point where it gets super competitive to where I'm losing a lot. Mm-hmm. And then I'll say, you know what, maybe I should stop, go to practice mode. And then by the time I spend like a week or so in practice mode and casual, I'll come back and I'm whooping everybody again.
So what are some of the things that you really focus on when you practice? Because that's one thing I've noticed I've seen different, right, from you. Because, like, say, for example, Tekken, right? When I got Tekken, I just wanted to go online and I didn't care about my ranking. But I would look over at you and you're on practice mode and you're on, like, you got the grid and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So how much of that do you really focus on, like, really, learning the distance, hit squares and kind of that type of thing?
I'd say that's highly essential when it comes to my play style, because even if I don't want to win, I want to do something that looks really cool. But I got to see the possibilities of how to set that up. Then I have to know what to do. And then I have to get my fingers prepared to do it at any given time. So I go to practice mode and I work on all of that.
Yeah, so that's funny you mentioned that, because especially when I switched to Tekken, my thumb was on fire.
Yeah.
That was the worst thing ever. How do you get around? I mean, I know it's practice and you probably build a callus, but I think honestly that's probably why I never got into fighting games, because my thumb would hurt. I never experienced that playing Call of Duty.
Man, you just got to do it and learn, and just like I played, like, how Tekken, it's a lot of movement, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I learned how to wave dash, I was tearing my thumb up.
Yeah, especially when you're trying to do those 3 electrics.
Man, just
Now, do you use the joystick? Do you use a joystick or do you still use a keypad?
Man, I suck at joystick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still keypad? Keypad all the way?
Yeah, D-pad all the way. I just always this, because with joystick, my whole arm doesn't move like that. It doesn't move well like that. I can't.
So let's kind of segue into that. That brings up a good point. You predominantly play on PlayStation. So why did you choose PlayStation?
Man, Xbox sucks. Like, if you see Bill Gates acts like he's never played a video game in his life. First of all, it's uncomfortable to hold. You got to hold it like this. Then it takes batteries. And then it's like the D-pad. There are no specific diagonal down forward specific inputs. Like it's like you don't have a thumb. I don't know. It's weird.
So, I understand the D-pad, but would you say, are there other aspects of Xbox that you don't like, and then maybe that kind of push you to go towards the PS route?
The rings of death. The rings of death that's always with all of them. And then the games.
Yeah, so what are I've never gamed on Xbox myself. I've been a PS fan since they came out with PS1. They do have some gaming, but would you say, is there a deeper breadth of game genres that, don't make it into Xbox?
Oh, man. So 360, if you wanted an Xbox, that was the one to get. But now, there's no reason to get an Xbox at all. There are no fighting games except for Killer Instinct. And then really that's it. When it comes to foreign, like Japanese games, stuff like that, everything else, PlayStation 4.
That's good to you. I wonder if Swoozy plays on Xbox still.
Oh, yeah. Man, he probably switched.
I hope so. Swoozy, shout out.
We watch.
We do watch religiously.
Yes. Religiously.
All right, that's good to hear. All right, so let's kind of segue back into live streaming. What's something that you're really looking to get out of, live streaming and having your own channel? What's the best outcome, do you think, coming out of that?
So it's cool to kind of look back at my streams and then kind of look at some cool stuff I might have done. Like, for instance, I have a stream where I do cosplay, and I'm dressing up like a Viking from For Honor. But really, man, I would really like 1,000 subscribers so I can do some type of community stuff, And I was thinking, once I reach there, you can talk to them and upload a picture, as well as words, talking to the community, see what they want. Mm-hmm. But also, I would do more vlogs and more personal stuff, because people really like those, like the skits that were in the content that I produced.
Right. Yeah. Now with YouTube, being how it is, and this is really our first episode here at Noob University. how do you think that, their monetization change, how did that affect the platform?
Oh, man. Yo, yeah, that when people figured out how to really work with it, that created a whole bunch of uploading. That oversaturated uploading, actually. That had people make videos of whatever, whenever, however, just to make videos. And then when they found out how to work it, they're like, hey, I have to make videos now because I'm making money from that.
Right. Yeah, because it's unfortunate. I'm coming in the tail end, and not to say that YouTube's dead or anything, but, I'm looking forward to just getting my message out there and, teaching people and kind of hoping to have interesting conversations with people that, they're just interesting people. But I feel like that monetization kind of just drove content to just explode and, not be authentic anymore. So, that's one of the things that I'm hoping to get out of this channel. But I do feel like you have that in your channel, and, hopefully our listeners go to your channel and subscribe and kind of are able to take that away from your channel, I guess.
Yeah, I got a job. Yeah, hopefully, though, if do get some type of monetization, we can use it to build up the channel, or you can use it to build up a channel, and do, help the passion.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, not most of us, but for myself, I do have a 9-to-5 job.
Oh yeah,
and this is an interesting avenue, and I love having conversations with people of all different lifestyles, different backgrounds, different skill sets. So I think this is really good for us. I mean, we used to do this back in the day. We did it for free. I mean, we would create content just to create it, and we'd spend we'd wake up, we'd be up to like 4 a.m. editing.
Yeah, we did
editing on a non-certified version of Adobe Premiere. So I feel like this is a good avenue, and it's good to see the growth that we've had. We've known each other since pretty much kids, so it's definitely interesting. So before we go, I wanted to ask you one interesting question. Being as how you are going towards the YouTube and live streaming, what's something that kind of you wish you would have known back before you started your channel?
I wish I'd known more about the monetization process, I guess. Because I was uploading just random stuff, just randomly, a lot of stuff. And I did get that email saying, hey, you can monetize your stuff. But at the same time, I was more concerned about putting out stuff that I like, which included copywritten material. And I didn't want to get sued. So I was like, look, I'm just going to continue to do this for fun. And, because it wouldn't be perfect like how I wanted without that copywritten material. So I guess really that.
It's definitely a good one. I mean, it's unfortunate that they do have that in the guidelines, but they're not very clear until you're oops. Now I just got hit with a copyright strike, and I haven't even started my channel down to 1. So that is definitely something that I hope they were a little bit more upfront before you begin things. So, definitely something good. Well, it was great having you on the show. Go ahead and plug your channel one more time.
To all my sexy people out there watching this video, go ahead and stop by Sofo-Sama. That's S like Sam, O, F like Frank, O, S like Sam, A, M like Mike, A. Sophos-Sama. Lord Sofo in Japanese. Sophos-Sama.
Go ahead and subscribe, and while you're here, just go ahead and click subscribe, like, comment, and please, this is our first video, so I do enjoy some constructive criticism. Hopefully you don't troll, but would appreciate, anything that helps out the channel. And please go ahead and, like I said, we're going to be hopefully doing some more collabs along the way, outside of video games. You do have some other skill sets, so you might see Sofo in another one of my videos.
Look at these muscles. Oh, yeah.
That's a little hint on what we might work on next.
I used to be skinny.
Well, that's all the time we have here at Noob University. Thank you for joining, and please, again, like, subscribe, comment. Thank you, everybody.